Alright, so I had made this video about Mercury retrograde and how it works with the full moon. I didn't like it, so I decided to make another one. Last week we talked about Mercury retrograde. We talked about it happening in Sagittarius. And so that Sagittarius Mercury retrograde is designed or intended for us to take a look at the higher aspects of knowledge, expansion, really broadening our scope, broadening our worldview on the reality that we're creating. The full moon bit, which just happened a couple nights ago, so I think it was like the 26th on the Western Hemisphere. The full moon was in Gemini, if you looked up in the sky. A lot of people are talking about Cancer, but in reality it was Gemini. So there's a couple of reasons why this is important. The first reason is Cancer gives us a water sign, whereas Gemini gives us an air sign. The other thing that's a little bit more important has to do with the fact that Gemini is what's called a mutable sign, or mutable energy is what we use to close out cycles. It's what we use to wrap things up. It's what we use to transition into the next. Between the sun being in Sagittarius, our Mercury retrograde or our Mercury review, the way in which we collect information, the way in which we communicate, because that's also in Sagittarius, we're seeing a lot of really strong announcements of energy that have to do with previous experiences, reviewing our reaction to those things, and closing the chapter on how we deal with that type of energy. It's just like a book, you got two options. You can move on to the next chapter, you can go back and you can read it again. It's not going to change the information that you got. So it's usually best for us to move forward, but the choice is yours. Full moons are something that we use to also review because Gemini and Sagittarius are sister signs. They both deal with the accumulation of knowledge in two different capacities. There's Sagittarius, which deals with higher knowledge, expansion, getting a more ethereal look at things. And then there's the Gemini, which deals with a more general way of communication and information, how we receive things, kind of like what you're using to interpret this video right now. When we're dealing with that Mercury retrograde, that opportunity to review what's going on in Sagittarius, we're given the opportunity to look at how we open up the limiting beliefs that we give ourselves. When it comes to the full moon in Gemini, we're actually taking a look at how we are closing out cycles and no longer dealing with information in the same way that we used to. Right now, it's really important for us to figure out what doesn't work for us and close that chapter. But by using that Sagittarius energy, we're actually able to get a fix on how we want to respond to things. We're dealing with a higher way of getting our objectives accomplished rather than maybe looking at things just from face value because the face value is not going to do it anymore. The face value only takes us day to day. So that's the closeout of that Gemini versus the Sagittarius, which is like, hey, what if we were open to taking observation of what's actually occurring in our lives and adapting? What if we trusted the ability that we have to shift and change in order to align ourselves with the reality that we're looking for? Maybe everything doesn't have to be so planned out. Maybe we just prepare ourselves to react in the best way possible. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, in a couple of days, Mercury goes direct again. So, what does Mercury going direct even mean? With Mercury going direct on Monday, it's a really great opportunity to start implementation. Isn't it funny that that would happen just around New Year's? It's almost like the universe is conspiring with you to create your own reality. But what do I know? I hope that was helpful. Let me know what y'all think. Comment.